Lockdown is partially coming to an end tomorrow. Um, but anyway, we're going to move the boat next week because uh, I need to do something which needs to be done every 3 years or so, which is to get the bottom of the boat scraped and repainted. And we're going to Banbury to get that done at Tooley's boatyard. So the first step is to plan the route, and to do that I always use a very useful program available online called Canal Plan, and that's what I'm going to do now. That gives me all the information I need so we know roughly how long it's going to take to get there, how much effort it's going to be, and where we'll pass through on the way. Right, this is the home page of Canal Plan AC. You can see there. I don't know who does this. It just says Nick's Canal Route Planner. So I don't know who Nick is, but it's a very useful facility. So down the left hand side here we've got Plan a Journey. There's a gazetteer which allows you to look up places, get information about places on the network. A boat listing, which is not completely up to date because it still shows my boat with the old name. But we're going to plan a journey, so we'll click on that, and it's giving me, it's got an audience now, 3 options here. Select the place by name, select by waterway, or the nearest place to where you are. So this is the first step in planning a journey. So select where we're starting from by name. So we're close to the wide water winding hole. So wide water, and there it is in the list, winding hole. Yes. Now we've got options. You can plan out and back trip, a one-way trip, which is what we're going to do. And if you're on holidays, you can plan a cruising ring trip using a lot of well-known rings that you can do on the canal network. Or if you're taking a boat for a week, you can decide how far you can go and get back again by the end of the week. That's what we did when we went on our holiday back in 2017. But we're going to plan a one-way trip. Now we can select where we're travelling to, and we're going to Tooley's boatyard, and there it is. Now it says the default calculations are based on 7 hours travelling each day, but I'm signed into this. I'm logged in, as you can see over here, as myself, and I've set my own defaults. So I've extended the amount of time we calculate to go through a lock from 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And I've also set 5 hours a day. So I'm going to say use these defaults, which are mine. And we're going to plan the trip without dates. I've selected a start date for trips, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. So I don't know what that does really. And then here's the information. So we start off with a summary. And it says this is a journey of 106 miles. If you select miles rather than kilometres, then you get furlongs as well, which is a bit annoying, but I find personally. But and it's 107 locks. So it says the parameters I've set 66 hours, which is 13 days and a little bit over, at 5 hours a day. And it shows us all the places that we pass along the way. So the next stop as we go up from here will be Blackjack's Bridge, followed immediately by Blackjack's Lock. And that tells us it's 6 3/4 furlongs. And then I've set this up to show the total distance as well, because when you've just got all these little bits of furlongs here and furlongs there, it's actually quite difficult to work out how far in total. Because this is a long journey, that's a long list. and it marks things like water points, L-sound points. It mentions shopping and other places along the way. But I'm going to go right the way down here now. As you can see, there's an awful lot of it. And the next section, that's all the totals. It breaks it down, so it gives you a bit more detail now. 107 locks, 3 movable bridges, 11 aqueducts, how many tunnels you go through. So all kinds of information on the journey. It also points out that there's a less heavily locked route that I could take, and I know this. I could go south from here and then up the Thames. But the difference is that's 141 miles, and a lot of that's on the Thames, and I would need to buy a 1-month licence from the Environment Agency, which currently would cost me £226 for this boat. So I've decided not to go that way. And so now, this is the really thing I find very useful. It's the overnight stops. Let me bring that. Yeah, overnight stops. So it says on day 1 we'll travel up as far as Ironbridge Lock Winding Hole. That's in Watford, and it tells me 7 miles and a bit, 9 locks, and it'll take just over 5 hours, they estimate. Normally most people seem to find it takes a little longer because this doesn't have any unforeseen circumstances in the way, like a sticky gate or a lock that's been left in an awkward state by somebody. But I find this really useful for giving an idea for the trip. So it tells us on day 1 we'll get to Castleberry Park in Watford. In day 2 we'll be in Apsley, and I know that there's a supermarket there, so that's useful information. The 3rd day it says Topside Lock. I can't remember exactly where Topside Lock is, but that's along the way, and it tells us we've got a movable bridge. That's my favourite bridge on the network because it's very awkward to do if you're on your own. So that shows us all the steps all the way through, and then after that there's a scalable map. We were just looking at another route just now and we couldn't find some quite big towns on the map, but it does give you an indication. You can see that what we're doing is we're going north, and then we're going a little, let's bring it up a little bit west on the Grand Union, and then the Grand Union continues on off the top of the screen there, and we will be going south on the Oxford Canal down to Banbury. So that's why it's 106 miles, because it's a bit of a loop. But when you zoom in, you can see it. You start to see a lot more detail of the places. So there's pub names, and that's in the Gazetteer, so you can click on it, get information about it, and also, you know, the mile posts that we got on the Grand Union. There's one every mile, all the way from Braunston all the way down to Brentford. It's quite handy for measuring your progress. And after that we get navigation notes. So little reminder, just up from here there's Copper Mill Lock, yes Copper Mill Lock Weir. Water flowing in there comes in very fast. It's so fast that canoeists have hung up slalom gates there, and you go through the bridge and it hits you on the side just as you go through, and it catches the unwary by surprise, but it says don't even think about trying to turn here because the currents are too strong. So there's little bits of information like that. So Apsley Marina, it reminds you if you want to go into the marina you'll need a waterways key, and yeah, all the way. So little information all the way through, and information about tunnels. So it just says Blissworth Tunnels open, and we can go ahead. The information is fairly up to date, but always double check directly with the CRT, just to be on the safe side for long journeys. And it just reminds me again that it's found a variation on the route which I'm not going to take, which was going by the Thames. And as you go along, you've got the route editor there, so you can change things. Right, so that's the plan. Once I've got a plan, then we can start the journey. And as I said, the timings, other vloggers have mentioned that they always seem to take longer than the time set. So we've got lots of daylight now because today is the first day of summertime. So 5 hours should be quite easy to achieve. But it allows you, for example, to say how long it takes you to go through a narrow lock and how long through a wide lock. And the default is 15 minutes, but it can easily be more than that, especially if you get to a lock and it's set the wrong way. Or as I was coming back before Christmas, coming south, I found, sorry, it's a bit distracting because the cat's suddenly gone mad with his toy. Yeah, the timings can be knocked off by things like problems with a lock, or when I was coming south before Christmas, things that happened to me was I think twice I came across boats that had come, pins had been pulled out of the bank. Yes, the things that can change the timings compared to what's in the planner, like I found before Christmas coming south, is coming across a boat which has pins come out and the boat's drifted across the canal. So I had no choice but I would have stopped anyway, but I had to stop and work out a way to pull the boat back in, re-secure it before I could carry on. And on another occasion, over 2 days, I found 23 locks in a row were not only set the wrong way, so that I wanted the lock chambers to be full and they were all empty, but the bottom gates were also wide open. And that involves a lot of walking when you're on your own, to walk round to one side to close the gate, then round to the other side to close the gate. And sometimes the paddles were left open as well. So as we go along on a long journey like this, I keep a check on how we're doing compared to the plan. If we get ahead of it or behind it, then it's very easy to recalculate the route. So after a couple of days, I might recalculate it from where we are at that point, and so just redo the plan. But as I say, I find this really useful. I've used it for every journey I've taken in the last 3 years, and I think everybody tends to use the same thing. And it just makes planning a lot easier. The other thing you need to do is check that there are no stoppages. It does have stoppage information in here, but I don't know how often it gets updated. I have emails set on, so I get notifications from the CRT if a lock, it's normally locks, if a lock is closed. And that can happen at any time. A gate can get broken, a paddle gets stuck, and that's it. They close the lock. And recently we had quite a long time, a couple of weeks, when a electric lift bridge was broken, and you just couldn't get through. So so you need to check that sort of thing for the longer journeys, so you don't get caught out. Like I did in December, getting onto the Thames and then finding Molesey Lock was closed for a month. That was just carelessness on my part. That's why I couldn't get to the Kenneth Naven. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do.